afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, and we are very fortunate today to have two wonderful women with us in our warehouse and the Liqui Moly head office. And we have Theresa Ralph and Sarah Hill, very well known in the cycling community, but two unbelievable dynamic ladies. So we're really, really excited for you to get to know them today. And I think for us just to be able to get started, I want to make sure that everybody that is tuned in, we're going to have a competition at the end, asking a couple of questions and making sure that you really listened to the detail of these two unbelievable ladies. And we're going to give away a voucher, 1,500 Rand voucher that you can spend on our fan shop or on our Liqui Moly online store. And that'll be asked a little bit more closer to the end of the interview. And the first person then to answer all three questions are going to be the lucky one to win that 1,500 Rand voucher. So listen carefully and make sure that you don't miss any of the details that we're going to go through. So welcome, ladies.
Awesome. Thank you.
So it's Women's Month. It felt like it actually was yesterday that it was 2019 Women's Month. And I think a lot of things have changed in the last couple of months. And I think also when it comes to cycling and to racing and everything else, there's a lot of changes that has also happened. But I want to really get started, and I know people that are watching, just to get to know you guys a little bit better. So if we can start, Sarah.
Me?
Yes, you. So this is a dynamic duo. So there is a very big, if I look at them competing in a team, I think you complement each other so much, but you're so different. And I think that's also going to be an opportunity for people to relate. So, yeah. Sarah, if we can start with you, 27 that you'll be in September?
Yes.
My lucky number. So when I saw that, I'm like, hey. So you grew up in Johannesburg, in Gauteng?
No, I was actually born in East London, down by the coast. And then at a young age, we moved to Pretoria, and then I moved to Joburg. So I've spent most of my years here in Joburg at altitude.
So you're a Gautenger, doesn't matter?
For sure, yeah, for sure.
Matured, yeah. So, and then I know you've been in the United States for quite some time, 4 years if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I did my high school years at St. Stithians, and then I got a scholarship for sport to go to an American university. So I took it, and then I did 2 degrees, which is why it took a little bit longer than normal. And I was based in North Carolina, right in the mountain range.
The 2 degrees you have, so psychology, yes. Sports psychology?
Yeah. So I did my BA in psychology and then my BSc in exercise science. And subsequently now, during lockdown, I now study my master's in sports psychology. Wow. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to go all the way to get the doctorate. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So cycling, was that something that the day you bumped into your tricycle, you knew this is where you want to go? Or how?
No.
What got you excited? What was that decision? Where did it start?
So surprisingly, my dad was a comrades runner. And he every now and then would try to get me on the bike and ride next to him. And I hated it. I couldn't think of anything more exhausting. I was a netball player, a sprinter, high jumper. And then when I went into high school, I was a rower. And so rowing is definitely why I got all the muscle strength in my legs. It's a pushing sport, surprisingly, not a pulling sport. And that high-performance lifestyle was something that I absolutely loved. And then in my matric year, I asked my coach, do you think that I can make it as a rower? You know, I wanted to be more than just a high school student. And he said no.
But why?
Yikes. My power to weight wasn't so great then. So I was weighing in at about 62, and I needed to be 59. And I don't know, I think my numbers, I just wasn't strong enough. I didn't have enough drive in the sport. It was very monotonous, the same kind of thing every day. And I was looking for that excitement, and he could see it. We cross-trained once a month with mountain biking in my last year of high school. And I couldn't believe the difference in performance when we were climbing, when we were riding, when we were jumping over curbs. I mean, we were in tackies and T-shirt and shorts, so borrowed bikes and all. And so once he told me the truth, which sometimes sets you free, I decided to try mountain biking. and I haven't looked back since. So 18.
Yay for mountain biking.
Yeah.
Yay for me.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
That's
I
one of
agree.
my beliefs.
I agree.
Okay, so then you decided, okay, great, to start mountain biking. In the beginning, were you an all natural? Because I
No.
know you're very good in technical
Thank you.
aspects.
Yeah.
But when it started off, because the one thing that I always know is I can go back to the time that I started cycling. And I remember you walk into the store and you think of all the things that you're supposed to have, and then they tell you have to have this kit, you have to have these shoes, you walk out there with all these accessories. Then you get onto the bicycle, and it's so intimidating. I mean, the first little rock that's this high, you kind of slam on your brakes, you put the whole bicycle, and even a little bit of a downhill, it's like totally freaks you out.
Yeah.
And now when you look back, you think yourself, oh my goodness, it's just consistently doing and just challenging every obstacle that you possibly can. But for you guys, it's very different. I mean, if I say very different, I mean, I think, is it true that in the beginning it was the same for you? Or was there a part of it that felt like it was very natural?
No.
Me neither.
I remember the first time I rode into a curb because I couldn't lift the front wheel. I mean, there was times when my feet slipped off the pedals and I landed on my bum over the handlebars. I mean, so I had 8 months to convince this university that I was a good enough rider, that they should give me sponsorship to go overseas and study. And so I just started riding my bike, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I was scabbed and scarred and bloody and bruised, but there was something about the excitement of the sport that kept me coming back. And I wanted to keep diving in the deep end because I was looking at my future student partners, and they looked amazing on the bike. And I realized that I had a lot of work to do. So I pretty much entered every Nissan Trail Seeker there was, every cross-country race at Top of Trails there was, and just went and came last and last and last until I figured it out.
So can I ask you, because I think that's the other thing that women do. We compare ourselves to someone that's really advanced, and then we think we'll never be good enough. And the reality is you started off like every single one will get the bicycle tomorrow and still on their tackies. And it's just really taking that limit and just pushing it every single time.
Definitely. And I think, something to say for that is watching your progress. The first, it was an MTN marathon race that I did. I think I came in an hour and a half behind Theresa. And I was exhausted. It was like a 6-hour race for me. And I remember looking at her and going, whoa, this girl is a superstar. And same with Sam and all the girls that I race against now. But the big trick is to stay consistent. So you enter again, and then you go, okay, look, I came 59 minutes behind somebody that you want to be. And comparing isn't the best thing, but monitoring that progress and just congratulating yourself for making a step forward is a huge part of it.
So comparing yourself to be better than what you were yesterday.
Yes.
Not comparing yourself to the Theresa that finished it an hour and a half before you,
Yes.
but seeing that your time is better than what it was yesterday or the last race, and knowing that you have to work on your skills every single day, and that will actually get you to get better and better every single day.
Definitely. And when you start racing the same event again the next year, knowing what's coming made a huge difference. And you can see times just get cut in half just because you know which corner or how long the climb really is. And that you don't have to walk halfway like you did the year before.
So if I look at you now and all the things that you involved with, I mean, you coach, you train. We've spoken about the technical training that I need. So
Always, yeah.
And if we look at what you've studied and you're busy with your masters, what is your goal in 5 years' time, career-wise? Where do you see yourself? Is there something specifically that you want to start going into career-wise, or is your goals more set on your pro cycling side?
Oh, no. That's like one of those questions they ask you at a job interview and you start sweating. Okay, no, I love that question because right now, during this lockdown period, that's what I've been focusing on. What's coming? What am I working towards? Because I needed to stay motivated. And for me now, going on 27, 5 years is what I'm looking at to have made it as an athlete. So I actually made myself a little life plan. And every year I have mini goals of where I want to get to, when I want to step onto the international circuit, which races I would have to do to get there. And then I'd have 3 columns. So the first one is my cycling. Then the second one is my job. And so I want to be a clinical sports psychologist. I have huge ambition to open up a high-performance center, work with professional women mountain bikers, not necessarily being just a South African team, but a feeder team that goes into international racing. I don't see a lot of that out there, so I think it's a niche. And then, of course, consulting, so having my office and looking all professional and showing up like Theresa does in her nice shoes and her big outfit. But I think, in those 5 years, I want to start to consult and work with people. And then, of course, the third column is life, where I like to go, it would be nice to be married at some point, have some kids eventually.
Some kids.
It's a little blurry, but it's working. We're getting there.
So on a totally different note, what is the favorite pastime that's not cycling for Sarah?
Watching cycling? No, I think if I wasn't a cyclist, I'd probably be in the cooking industry. I mean, I absolutely love food and nutrition and how to fuel your body and feel good. So I spend a lot of my time thinking about that, and I love cooking.
Awesome.
Stereotypically, but I love cooking.
Thanks for sharing all of that. We're
Thank
going to move now to Theresa.
I'm ready.
So I T-bike and
T-bike.
so many of people.
Bus tea.
No, so every single time I must. This is the one thing with the two of you. You're such a fun combination. The photos that you take is normally not these serious, looking like the mountain. There's always hanging from somewhere or mud somewhere or some kind of this space that you decided this will be a funky photo, which I absolutely enjoy. But Theresa, I look at what you do, and you are now 45. I want to mention that because I think it's quite because I think it's quite impressive. I think
It really is.
I think always we think, you just mentioned, you said the time you still have to be at your peak. And then I look at racing and cycling and the different age groups, and then I see people that actually start at a specific time in their life. And I think if you have a passion for something, there's never a expiry date, because every single day everything changes. And so you also grew up in Johannesburg? And in Gauteng, let's make it Gauteng because Pretoria's in it as well. I'm covered.
Born and bred, yeah.
Born and bred. But you were a professional swimmer, and not just professional, like Springbok colours. So share a little bit how you were brought up, and what was your ambition, and was it always swimming, and where did the change come in?
So I still remember when I was 9 years old and I was swimming in a gala for school, and someone pointed out to my mom and said, "Hey, she's got a good stroke. I think you should take her to a coach." So, of course, my mom thought, okay, let's take her to a coach. And I was put into a coach that was well known and had great results. And every single day my mother took me there, I was in the car crying. I loved to swim, but I hated to train.
Oh, I didn't know this part.
You see, if you hate training, there is hope for you.
This coach used to whip her students with a flipper and trying to get them going, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. And eventually we left that coach and I went to another coach and we bonded. And that, I suppose, is also why Sarah and I coach these days, and find that you have to have that coach bond, otherwise you won't really gel with them and you won't get far. They won't motivate you enough. So then I found the right coach, and from there onwards, the swimming took off, and I competed at national and international level. Yeah, I went to World Student Games when I was a student. So it was from age 9 to age 22 almost that I swam at a competitive level. So it was the discipline of waking up early in the morning, going to swim in the pool, adding some gym workout to that, swimming every single afternoon, and then incorporating schoolwork I was also a hockey player, so I
Of
enjoyed
course.
mixing.
So juggling comes from very early age.
From a very early age, and also loved the hockey. But I suppose the school understood that I had time constraints to fit everything in, and that I might not make every single swimming practice, and I might not make every single hockey practice. So as long as I was at the games and I was at the galas, that was fine. They needed a strong sports person there, and I would always bring the results. And I suppose that from a young age is what's happened to me, is that, yes, whatever you can fit in, as long as you're bringing the results, you keep going. And yeah, you might
She
drop
never gives up. Ever.
you might drop balls along the way and, irritate people because you don't have time for them or whatever. But you learn to juggle the balls, and you learn to pick up balls that can bounce as well. So
I remember you saying that at our kickoff about all the balls, but it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable for me. I mean, a lot of people go and they think, "Okay, I can't add this or I can't do that." But I think if you really want to, you fit things in, and that just helps you to be able to do a lot of other things, a lot more focus and a lot more, because you can be busy the whole day and get nothing done.
Yes.
But if you have a lot of things to do, you have to focus and get it done properly. Can't just wing everything, because you're not going to be able to really be good in the things that you actually do. So you were swimming and all these other different things. And at what point did you decide that you want to be on a mountain bike? I know your brother did the epic.
yes.
So that was the turning point for you.
I think it was. I did, after my swimming career, also play water polo, so I kept it in the pool. And then kind of decided that, the team sport, I loved it. But it was also a lot of training, and decided that wasn't my niche. And
And she found me.
then I got married and carried on with a little bit of water polo, keeping fit, a little bit of running. I even ran for a bit. So, I still have visions of doing an Ironman one day, I suppose.
If you put it on your box, I'm 100% sure you'll tick it.
And it's a way of life. You make it a way of life, keeping fit, no matter what you do, mixing it up a little bit. And I suppose when you have children, I did kind of put anything competitive on pause. And then they get older, and then you kind of get your life back. And then as the life was coming back, I was already spinning and found the love for turning the legs in that direction. And
Not being underwater.
Not being underwater, not having that chlorine smell on your skin. And I suppose, it was my brother who started cycling, and he was like, "Come, T, come ride with me." And I was like, I do have a mountain bike that I did buy and never used it, because the day I was actually going to use it, I actually found out that I was pregnant. So then that went out the window with my daughter. And it was still in the garage, dusted it off, and thought, okay, let's train with my brother a bit. And he was like, "Just come do 947 with me." And I was like, "Oh, of course I can do 947. I do spinning. I'm fit."
In your mind, the 55 kilometers, or was it the road race?
It was a road
race. Okay,
Yeah.
so
The 94.7 kilometers was going to be okay. And my brother was there. I'm much more of a sports person than what my brother is. So had the flat tackies and the pedals, and he was like, no, you need cleats. I was like, okay, we're going to buy the correct shoes. Jump on the bike the day before 947, think, I better try these cleat things out. Ride up and down the road a few times, get to the gate, couldn't uncleat, boom, over, twisted the ankle, torn ligaments, couldn't do the 947. So that's where I started, just after my kids were about 4 or 5 years old. And
You started once you were recovered.
I didn't do the 947. I was bright.
So
and
don't try something new the day before the race.
Exactly.
rather go with the tackies.
I'd rather go to the taggies and stop for coffee somewhere.
It's amazing for me how some see because you have a conditioning, you've done the swimming, you have done all the sport, And then you think, 94.7 kilometers, that's not much. I spin. Someone else looks at it and go, more than 10 kilometers, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. So people have different references. And I think marathon and being competitive, it's always that way of looking at it. It's like, no, it's not so bad. And then you do it, and when you finish it, you thought, okay, that was not the easiest thing, but it's not that bad. So getting onto a mountain bike, when did that start?
So it was shortly after that incident. My brother did the 2009 Epic, and I watched him train, a little bit envious to see him getting really skinny and really fit, because a lot of people make a goal and they do everything to be able to complete it, and he did that. And I supported him from afar every single day and spoke to him while he was having his massages, and I suppose the FOMO set in. And the next year I was entered. So I was asked to be my husband at the time, to be his partner, and we entered to do a race together, and we did Epic.
And as a mixed team, where did you finish?
We actually came 9th in the mix. So we were top 10.
I just wanted to ask.
Like, how hectic is that? You know, like, I feel like my introduction to cycling was way nicer than, let's just throw you in next year's Epic, and we're going to be competitive.
Top 10.
Top
yes.
10.
Never look back.
That was unbelievable when I saw that. I'm like, okay, I have some work to do. But then in 2012, you actually took part in the SA Champs marathon.
Yes.
Because I know that was a highlight in your career. Just a little bit, because I mean, I know how long I've been cycling.
Are you talking about Worlds, or are you talking about SA Champs here?
SA Champs here. So there I think, so just correct me, because I know that the two highlights, 2012, 2016, where you got your SA colours. And I mean, starting in 2009, seeing your brother, then doing the Epic and coming in the top 10, and then just there's a drive of wanting to achieve and make sure that there's, when you do something, it's not just, okay, I'm going to fall off. I couldn't even get my balance right when I was unclean when I was in front of the gate, but let's try the next, and I'm going to get better and better, because there's not just a being mediocre. If I commit to this, I'm going to go full out.
Well, 2012 was also my best Epic year. I skipped 2011 and suffered from FOMO yet again. And then 2012, I was very lucky to be sponsored, and they actually flew in a German girl to come race with me. And we finished second overall in the ladies that year. And that's when I went to World Marathon Champs as well in France and competed there. I wasn't lucky there. I had issues with my bike and couldn't finish. But it was still a very massive whirlwind of driving myself to be fit as I could be to get to those goals. So, yep.
Unbelievable. Really. And you're a mother of two.
Three.
She can adopt me as well. So, a mother of two. I know you work for FNB. What do you do for FNB?
So, for them, I could make it really glorified or not, but I do a lot of testing for them. So we do security testing. So a lot of people go like a hacker. So I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, like a hacker.
She's behind the garment.
Shh. And also load and stress testing for them. So it's a very IT specific job, and I'm a specialist in that field. And love it. It is a half-day job, so people think, a full corporate job. I only work half-day for them, which allows me to fit in training, to have my athletes to coach, to give time to my children and schlep them to their extramurals, because they're also fairly busy. So, yes, that's what I do for F&B.
So career coaching. I know when we were not in lockdown, you were also spinning classes. So I really admire how you fit all those things in. And the first time I heard that you do IT for F&B, I must say I always have a picture of what that must look like. And if I look someone that's a little bit, I don't want to say nerdy, because I mean with the app development and things, I could probably also put myself into that category. But it's if I look at the two of you, you're always so much fun, and it's always, I mean, afterwards doesn't look like you've done a race at all. Got so much energy and always chatting with everybody. I mean, it's York and we've been at Bergen Bush, and it's unbelievable to see you're such great ambassadors, and that's why I absolutely am so grateful that you are part of the Liqui Moly ambassadorship and that you represent us in as women in cycling. And just well done again with everything that you do. And I think that is the inspiration as well for women, for both of you. It doesn't matter where you start. You're not going to be great when you start at something.
No.
And one person's race and them reaching whatever goals they have might be a little bit quicker, but it is enjoying that process. And in cycling, from the both of you, is it something, I mean, I see the enjoyment. I see the passion you have for cycling. So if you can just share, is it something that when you get onto that bicycle, what goes on? Is it an adrenaline rush of note? What is those emotions that every single time want you to do it over again and just be better and achieve more?
Okay, I'll go first. So I think during lockdown, the first thing I would feel when I got on the bike was freedom. You can finally breathe some air and see the sunrise and, find a little bit of distance in you, because it's a journey, that process. And I enjoy the process of getting stronger and meeting new goals. For me, as a mountain biker, technical single track is what I absolutely love. And I did a lot of it when I was racing downhill. So I've seen scary stuff, done, things that I thought were impossible. And now when I ride single track, it's a way for me to express myself. That is my identity. And when you ride behind me, you can see how playful and expressive I am as a person. And I love to have that connection with my bike. It's so much more than just riding and training.
One thing that I read about you, you didn't tell me personally, but is that you have a mantra when you're on the bicycle. You remember when that was in one of the interviews, what you say to yourself on the bicycle when you're kind of having, so you mentioned that some people have quotes or things on their bicycle, but you have something that you keep on saying to yourself if you really struggle.
Well, one that I always keep really close to me is saying that I am strong. No matter what, I am strong. And no matter how hard it is, I'm still strong. And even if I'm coming last, I'm still strong. And it's something that I say to myself when I have to breathe, or have to eat, or I have to chase someone, or even on days where I've just had a hard day at work and I'm getting on my bike for the first time at 5:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. on our Thursday nights. And it's something that just helps me, keep on going. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks Sarah. Theresa?
I don't have a mantra.
She's too busy telling me that I'm okay.
She starts to giggle, and you can see a total change in the face.
The one thing, I don't know, it's slightly off topic, that Sarah and we treasure is we've raced almost 3 years now together, and we've got to know each other so well that we actually don't have to talk. And I kind of know how to motivate her or what to say. Either it's tough love, or it's gentle, or it's motivational, and vice versa as well. Like, we have a lot of laughs on the bike, especially through Transpaviance. That is such a long race. Yeah. And every climb that we come to, we either breathing in rhythm, saying something as we go, making a joke, trying to think of a joke when you're in the red zone. Sometimes doesn't work.
Keeping the sense of humor alive.
Keeping the sense of humor alive. And there was something that I was thinking about when you were asking her the questions and she was going to respond, and saying, when is it going to end, or is there an end point? And I think 3 years ago, before I'd met Sarah, I had to find a partner to race with. And I was on the search for somebody to race with. And I never thought I would end up racing with Sarah.
Me neither.
She got thrown in the deep end,
yes.
Big time. But at that point, I think I was almost coming to the end of my mountain biking career, thinking age is is playing its toll. Thinking the level of women's racing has really picked up. You know, the epics that I'd done before that, the gaps between the first, second, and third ladies was big. Now they sprint finishes. And I was thinking, how can I hold on to this? The level has upped itself so much. And I was actually on a almost, this is my last epic kind of path. Then I met this young thing, and I've got the new lease of life. I've never been in this shape ever. And once again, everything has re-sparked and reignited. And I'm grateful for Liqui Moly, for Sarah, for all our sponsors that have reignited the last 3 years of my life, and looking forward to many, many more.
But you ladies had an unbelievable 2019. African jersey in epic, Transpaviance for the how manyth time. With the Bergen Bush, it was the Cape Pioneer. So unbelievable results. So I know even with the year, we started off and we wanted, we had this whole passion series. We were going and we were following you, and we were going to go through the epic, arriving there, doing some videos. And then the entire world almost got to a pause with the pandemic. How has that changed things for you in the last couple of months? And what have you been doing differently to be able to keep yourself motivated? If we can start with you, Theresa.
So, being in the four walls of your own house, very lucky to have an indoor trainer that I use a lot, and I find that because of the lifestyle balance that I'm often on the indoor trainer, but people kind of took the bull by the horns and started creating events and WhatsApp chat groups, and this is what we're going to race, and everybody enter, and yes, there's going to be the little prize purse over here, and it's only going to be 3 weeks.
Yeah, right.
For the hard 3 weeks of lockdown, and everybody was actually quite, they were motivated to go and race hard, and we met this girl and this girl and this girl through that type of platform, and funnily enough, now how many weeks in, and we're still racing with them. We've formed teams. We're doing time trial series. We're doing Premier League series, or the international series that we race on the Thursday night. So on the racing front, we're keeping it fresh. We're keeping the motivation up. Yes, sometimes you look at your indoor trainer and go, not again. But with the amazing Zwift platform and seeing your avatar and putting on different
Dressing yourself up. We are girls as well. Matching everything.
Socks and bikes and sweat drops and challenges. At least it's keeping it a little bit entertaining. So on the training side, I'm good. And also we are allowed outside now. And racing, I think, is just around the corner. People are going to come up with innovative ideas to keep the competition going. We've got one coming up next Friday, and it'll be the first in a long time, but looking forward to that.
Awesome. And for you, Sarah?
So I looked at this lockdown and I was terrified because I hate the indoor trainer. I'm one of those people who said, I didn't start riding to ride inside. And this is putting me in a cage. I was like, there was tears, it was horrible. And the gamification of Zwift was something that really attracted me. The fact that you had power-ups and that you could, sprint points. And, there were aspects to racing within the events that complemented you. And for me, I'm not a time trialist. I never have been. And so when we started, it was those little sprint segments and having a little sprint jersey. Those are the things that I was attracted to. And having the WhatsApp group was huge. And then once that toned down a bit and we could all go outside, I decided with the time that I had to look at my weakness. So what was the one thing that I hated doing that maybe I should work on now? So when we do start racing again, I've really put a lot of effort into what limited me in my performance. And that was time trialing. So we have a 30-minute time trial race that we do on Tuesday mornings, and then an hour time trial race that we do on Thursday nights. And if it wasn't for the girls that we met in level 5 and the discords and the chats that we have, I wouldn't still be doing it. And thanks to that, little things like FTP numbers start going up. Your ability to suffer for longer starts going up. And for once, I feel like now I'm complementing my race partner instead of being completely on the opposite end of the scale. I can hold on to that wheel and sit with her for a long time rather than going really hard, really soft, really hard. So it's a really good opportunity, and I feel way more prepared now, even after we have our off season going into next year, with what I've been focusing on. So, yeah.
So would you say, I mean, I've looked around with people that have actually gone into almost permanent lockdown. They don't do much, and this whole current situation is getting to them. Do you think being active and still putting those goals out and making sure that you interact with people have really helped you to stay mentally positive?
I definitely think so. Definitely. I think people interaction is, I love it. I'm really, not even talking about the cycling side, just chatting with friends, going out for dinner, having braais. That's all not happening. So I miss that type of interaction with people, and I think the whole world is missing that. Yeah. So one way to keep the endorphins flowing and the happiness in your body is to exercise. It doesn't have to be on a bike. It can just be a gym session, home gym session, Pilates. Oh, there's so much out there that people have put on social media that you can just follow this coach or follow that coach. And just doing a little bit of this every single day to keep those endorphins high, I think is a massive mental state of mind pro. Keep that flowing, and it will help you.
And I'm one of those people who, I don't have kids and I live alone, and so I've decided to start teaching skills again. And for me, I mean, we don't touch each other and I can't position you as I used to, but having that interaction and being able to teach and pay it forward while we're not racing has really been so fulfilling. So, if you can, go outside on the weekend and ride with one or two friends, just to have that, community and that tightness, it just makes such a huge difference.
So I think one thing that we're in Women's Month, and I think of all the things that are going around in the world, and there's different movements, and one thing that I still feel, if I look at the amount of women in the world, and you see things of some countries where they're actually only allowed now to fly a plane or to be able to drive a car. And I look at all these different things, and I think it's amazing for me, if we look at the numbers, how women have so much talent and so much to give to the world, but don't always have the opportunity to let that shine. So when we look at cycling, do you feel sometimes that there's still that when it comes to overall sponsorships and competitiveness and the amount of advantages, there's still a big difference between the male and female races, entries, how it is actually focused? Because I remember one of the interviews that was done with you before actually mentioned that even the racing start, there are a lot of women that are really extremely good. If you look at the top 10 and what they can do, that is something in the pro aspect that should actually not be that there's starting for men and then a starting for women. But how do you feel? What is it like now? Do you think that gap is becoming a little bit closer, or do you think it's still things that there's a really big gap?
Yeah, you would know a bit more.
So I think the gap is getting closer, and a lot of the event organizers are the equal prize money for both men and women, which is phenomenal. And I know that a lot of the girls that we compete against and with, some of them won't even do an event if it's not equal prize money throughout. And so there has already been a stand-up to say, hey, you need to recognize us. And the good thing is that we are crying out to say, hey, we also need equal prize money, but we're also going, hey, look at us racing. It is just as exciting as
it's
watching
close
the
now.
men.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people, I'd say in the last 3 to 4 years, even come up to us ladies and go, sure, that was a close race, or I love the coverage, and oh, we are so much more interested in watching the ladies' race than the men's race. And that's not only for South African cycling. It's definitely, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
The women's cross country, everybody sets their calendar.
You never know who's going to win.
You never know who's going to win. There's that type of competition. You know, so many of the ladies, names now that are all up there. There are so many that you can pick from. They're all equally as talented, equally as skinny.
And now on that, sorry, Sarah, one of the things I must say, there's a lot of guys that myself and Yolandi cycle with, and I know how excited they get about all the lady pros. It's almost like movie stars have taken a back seat, and it's all the mountain bikers. And it's become, I think they can start a brand new a calendar, because it's just getting so exciting, and there's so many followers. And it's really, to be able to see the competitiveness is unbelievable. So it's great to know that just cycling is represented in a way that there's a space for women and for men, and it's just that empowering
Good word. Yeah.
aspect for everyone, because I do think anything that you really have as a sport, I think it's empowering. It empowers other people to see that it's possible, but it also empowers a country, because it creates that following. It creates women being excited because they see the two of you on bicycles and think, if they can do it, it's going to take me a while, but I can also do it. Juggle my kids and my work and everything else. And how do you feel? I mean, you're still
A spring chicken.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of new.
We're almost the same age, so I don't want to say that in such a way. But
So-
from your experience of what you've in the years that you've been racing.
I mean, I haven't seen as much transition as T, but I definitely have noticed events starting to stand up. I mean, Wines to Wales is probably the most prominent one, where we have our own women's stage race weekend, and that's huge. I mean, that doesn't happen, So I feel privileged to be a part of such a big movement. And I think from my standpoint, what I have seen is more women just getting involved. As a skills coach, and both of us as coaches, I think our female athletes are increasing, and more women want to try, And I think during this lockdown period they've fished out their bikes. They want to see what they can do. They can also ride on the weekends, And it's been fun. And I think that's what they're realizing, is how much fun riding is. And the coffee afterwards, and the breakfasts, and the hangouts, and the weekends away, you want to get involved in that.
And sharing all the chipped nails.
Exactly.
So you mentioned just now a lot more females want to get involved, and if there's any for everybody that's watching, what would be your advice? Because I know you start off and it's intimidating, because you look at pros and you think, sure, I don't know if I'm going to ever get there. And then you get onto a trail with your tackies and your bicycle, and you have everybody
telling you what to do
in your neck, and you want to think, okay, I don't want to be an inconvenience for anybody, but I want to start. I'm enjoying this, and I love that, because I think the more women that are getting on bicycles, and the more they can see they can get over rocks and go downhill and just improve every single day, the more confidence it also gives them to do other things. Because I think having more opportunities for you to be able to see what you are capable of gives you a lot more opportunities in the business world, and as a mother, and as a business, a woman in business. So what would your advice be for someone that's just started or have their bicycle and they still feeling very nervous, to be able to just give them some tips of what would be your advice of what do they need to cut off and what do they have to focus on a little bit more, so that they can also enjoy it and don't feel so anxious? Because I know, I can remember how anxious I was. And sometimes you forget about that, but I know there's a lot of people, because we don't have gyms open, that have bought a bicycle. Maybe their husbands as well are cycling, and they also now want to make sure that they can get onto the trails. What would your advice be? How to get started, what to feel, what to do?
I don't think they must worry about being in tackies and flat pedals, because really, I think there are a lot of mountain bike coaches out there that actually insist that you arrive like that, because
I do.
Yep.
Bunny hop,
Because-
it's better if you learn it
if
with
you
the
can
side
do
jockeys.
whatever you do on flat pedals, when you put cleats on, it's going to be so easy to, and you'll have the confidence, and you'll know how to balance on your bike without being attached to it, which is a benefit on the skills coaching side. She will know. So don't worry what shoes you're wearing or what your kit looks like. Just go out there, start small. Just try a bike park. There's so many in Joburg that are superbly run. They're manicured. And just go and try the green route. Go with your kids. Have some fun. Get some fresh air. Set an hour aside on a Saturday and a Sunday morning where you just go and ride the trail. And I promise you that freedom and that outdoors lifestyle with the vitamin D getting injected into your body and a little bit of dirt on your face, it's actually uplifting and good for you. And
what I'm seeing as recently is there's now women cycling clubs starting to come up, and that's something new. We don't see that very often. And I'm a part of a Girls Support Girls cycling club, and they do Sunday rides all together. They have their own little Zwift teams that they make. So the community aspect's quite important.
Girls Support Girls Club.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome.
yeah. And so just like T said, once you start and you jump on that bike for the first time and you're out with your kids, and I mean, you're so busy babysitting at the same time and trying to balance, find groups of people that are at the same level as you, or women who, you know, like when T found me, I was absolutely nowhere on her level. I was way on a lower.
wasn't that bad.
And so she nurtured me. And that's something that women do to each other, is they nurture each other to improve, and we encourage each other to try new things. And so finding that group of people that will help assist you in that way is what you want. And then you'll see, they'll say, you should enter this race. And then they'll enter you for that race. And all of a sudden, you're doing it. And it'll happen before you know it.
And it's so much fun. I mean, all the different events where all the ladies are and you can interact and you can learn from each other. I think it's a different environment. I'm always so inspired. So I think from lockdown, that's the one thing I always miss the most, is those crowds of people that you actually, the quirky little jokes and things on a trail, and getting all the horror stories afterwards,
Yeah.
which is always great to be able to just share. But also, what we will do is just the clubs that you have, some recommendations for ladies if they do have their bicycle, they find it a little bit more harder to maybe cycle with their husband, and they want to interact and learn a little bit so that you can get those connections. But it's such a good advice. Connect with ladies that are also passionate about cycling or just starting off. I know there's always these different levels, some that are a little bit more skilled, others that have just started. I think that's a nice way, but because you can learn from each other, and that's also uplifting because you grow together as well.
And T and I, we love coaching, you know, and we are, you know, one of the few female coaches out there who do race professionally as well. And we have insights, and people can relate to us in different ways. So if you are looking for coaches, we are here.
So they are here. So if you want to know how to get in contact with them, please just leave a comment in the comment section, and we will make sure that we put you in contact with these amazing two ladies. And I know from their personalities, I mean, I have giggled and I've been inspired. I've started with you on the start line, and I was left behind an hour and a half, I think, so did you, with Theresa. But just always the willingness to help. I mean, we've done York events together as well, where you give so much tips to everybody that's there. So and I think that's also amazing to give back, because you are inspiring women. You have backgrounds of coaching and wanting to be involved and passionate about cycling, and different ages, and which I think is also complement each other in your team. The next thing I want to ask you is, what is your biggest bucket list race? Something that you haven't done but you really want to do, and that you are looking forward to do in your career still, or very soon when all things are a little bit more back to normal.
Well, for me, I know that I want to get that Epic Legends medal, which is where you've done a Cape Epic, and then you do the other events that are the 2 other events that involve that medal. So there's a Swiss Epic, and then there's the New Zealand Pioneer. And if you do those 3, you get that Epic Legends medal. And it's, I would love to I'd love to have that as ticked off on my bucket list. There was another one that we were actually scheduled to go and do this year, both Sarah and I, on gravel bikes. And since gravel bikes is an up-and-coming kind of discipline that people are finding fun, the Dirty Kanza was one of the races that we were also targeting to go across and do, which is also an international race, just for something different.
Yeah, not to mention it's a 200-mile gravel race. Just in case you guys are wondering what we got ourselves into.
That was her idea, actually.
Yeah, these ideas that come up between 2. So we're going to note that, so that when you achieve it, we can have a big celebration. You heard the bell in our office, so that will be something that we're going to do. And for you, Sarah?
So definitely combined, it's such a nice dream of ours. I think also for me, the BC bike race, stage race, something that I am just so excited about just because of the technicality of the stage race. A lot of these races are very gravelly, connected with single track, where this one's like the opposite, a single track with a touch of gravel every now and then. So I want to be there. Yeah.
So what was your toughest race, and what did you learn from it? What did you learn from yourself through that race?
So I think it was that World Marathon Champs that I went to in France. I got there and I thought my bike was in good condition and it had been serviced, etc. and so forth. But the day of the race, it was pouring down. It was in France, not Joburg, where mountains are like this, and now it's wet and it's muddy, and it was a crazy, crazy day. And I started off, and everything was good, and then my cleat came off the bottom of my shoe and got stuck in the pedal. So now I was riding really gnarly, muddy stuff, basically with one shoe cleated in and the other one slipping off the pedal all the time. I was falling all over the place. I remember at one stage I'd fallen off my bike, and the side of the mountain was just so slippery that I was actually slipping down, holding onto my bike, and the rotor caught onto a root and bent. So now I was,
oh my gosh, worst case scenario.
Sounds like a movie you could make with this.
The rotor, and I was covered in mud, and at that stage I gave up. I actually said, I can't finish this race. My bike is in too much disarray, and I could hardly get the front wheel going because of the bent rotor. So I pulled out of the race. And I think for someone who's so motivated and so I never ever give up, I did. It was once in a lifetime thing. And it was actually okay. You have to just say, listen, the odds were against you on that day. It wasn't really your body that gave up on you. It was almost the equipment. And you have to swallow the good with the bad. And that just wasn't my day. And everyone's going to have one of those every now and again. So.
And T wants to go back to World Marathon Champs. This was going to be the year, but it's going to be next year.
Yep, 2021. So I've got unfinished business. And yes, I have competed in other World Marathon Champs. We had one here in South Africa, which I competed in. And, but yeah, you just pick yourself up and you try again. So
I think that's such valuable success habits, is to know that there's not always going to be a sunny day. You're going to have ups and downs, and I think what we're in with the pandemic also tells us that sometimes you plan so many different things, and then something happens and it totally destroys those plans, and you can either accept it and make the best of it and be grateful for what you have, or get into a little corner and totally break yourself down. And so great to stand up and say, next time. Yeah. This is what happened now. I make peace with it. Next time I'll get it.
Always a next time. Yeah.
Your toughest race, and what did you learn from it?
Do we have some time for the toughest race? Okay. So for me, I would just say epic. I mean, I've done so many one-day events that have been so hard, but when it came to epic, pushing your hardest every single day, doing such tough raw terrain was hard. And I grew as a person and I matured as a racer coming out of Epic. And I loved that. I love that element of suffering. So I want to come back just to continue the growth and continue that process.
And don't we all, when you look back at life, the time when you felt like, wow, it was so tough, the amount that you learn from yourself during that period on how limits are actually pushed, you look at it afterwards and you think, I wouldn't have been where I am now if it wasn't for that failure or wasn't for that situation. So, and you are really such super woman for so many out there, and even if it's just your personality and the way you do things and your commitment and the way you represent the sponsors you have, I want to really acknowledge you for that, because I think it's unbelievable, and you're an example for a lot of people that maybe want to do a sport and maybe want to get involved and have all these excuses, because I think you have them sometimes for a little while, but then make them into a positive and use it to your advantage. And that's a great example for all women around the world.
Thank you.
So for everybody that's wanting to enter the competition, I have 3 questions for you. First question, who does Theresa work for, her half-day job? Second question, how old is this old lady next to me? And then what did Theresa and Sarah accomplish in the Epic last year, 2019? So those 3 questions. Who do Theresa work for? How old is Sarah? And what did they achieve in the Cape Epic last year, 2019? So first person with all 3 answers will win that 1,500 Rand voucher. And you have to be a woman to win it. So I know Richard behind is like...
Can I enter?
So the last thing I just want to ask for everyone, for us to bring this unbelievable interview with the amazing ladies to a close, is what is the lesson you want to give, or what is the quote or the inspiration you want to give women out there in all industries, whether they cycle or just being moms, or what advice that you would give?
You know, you've ruffled our feathers, and I'm feeling quite proud of myself, but we are human. We are 100% human, fully approachable. Yes, we do tunnel vision ourselves into our sport and have achieved well, but I think that goes for everybody. If you do tunnel vision yourself into a path that you have passion for, you will get there. And you will fail, but just keep trying. It's happened to me a lot.
Oh, that's so special. Yeah.
Awesome.
So with one of our other ambassadorships, Live Cycling, we have this hashtag, and it's called #ActuallyICan. And I hold that so close to my heart, because as a woman cyclist, we're overcoming a lot of barriers. And whenever you think you can't, actually you can. So, mic drop.
Awesome. I really want to thank you. Thank you for putting the time aside to be here in our offices, to give some amazing tips and a little bit about yourself to everybody out there that loves cycling, all the women out there. And thank you for what you do for women cycling, and for being such amazing people. Because there's a friend of mine that always says, I can do anything with anyone if they are good people, and that shines from you. And I think for women all over the world, the important thing is you can do anything. Don't question yourself. Never think that you can't do anything, but because if you're committed and you don't compare yourself with people that have done it for so many years, but you just commit to be able to say, I'm going to keep on doing this until I get it right, anything is possible. For all women out there, we are proud to be women, and we are capable of so much. So go be great.
Thanks.
Thanks. Go be great, everybody.